What's up, everybody? Today we are featuring a 2019 BMW 440 brought to us by First International Auto Group out of Merrimack, New Hampshire. Before we get out on the road, let's go check out the exterior of this car. This car in particular is the Imperial Blue metallic color, which honestly looks like black in darker light. But as you can see here, we have a bright and sunny day, so you can kind of see that blue shining. We do have these black wheels, which I do like them standalone, but on a blue car, it just doesn't really work for me. Overall, this car is still very good looking. We have dual exhaust pipes in the back that look quite great, and a fairly usable trunk, which of course we have a tire in it right now. Shows that usability, am I right? So let's show you how to get into these back seats. Of course, we have this little automatic switch here that allows you to bring the chair forward instead of having to lean down there. And of course, you can kind of squeeze. And getting into these back seats for a coupe is fairly easy due to that button. We have vents back here. We have dual speakers on each card back here. And of course, these lovely brown seats are quite comfy. I don't have a lot of headroom and I'm 5'9". If you're any taller than me, you will not fit in these back seats. So, you know, I guess that's a good excuse to be the front passenger. So 2019 was nearing the end of the F generation 4 Series car. And so we do have quite a bit of tech for 2019, like Apple CarPlay. We have lane keep and other settings down here, which I love that they have physical buttons. And we also have a physical button for our auto start stop off, which once you turn it off, it stays off. That is great. Under the hood, we have the B58. This is a very famous BMW engine, which makes 330 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque, obviously twin turbo 6, just a lovely platform paired to an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission. Let's get this thing out on the road and see what it's got. So as we make our way out of the Merrimack outlets, let's talk about this interior. So of course, as BMW has gotten more and more digital over the last few years, I mean, if you get in a G80 M3 or M4, you realize the entire dashboard is just screen, right? So getting into this F-Series car, you realize that, wow, it's actually the perfect amount of screen to analog. We have analog gauges for our speed and RPMs. Of course, we have a little infotainment screen for our Apple CarPlay, which works great, and even in this bright sunny day, it shines quite bright. You know, it's pretty resistant to glare, which is nice. Our HVAC controls also have physical buttons with little digital displays, so no problems there. Basically everything in here has a high quality physical button. And I really do love these brown seats. They fit the car really well, especially with the dark blue exterior color. I think overall this is a nice spec. I think the one thing I would have done differently at the time is go rear wheel drive instead. I do like the 8-speed automatic. I don't have a problem with people getting it because it's nice to daily drive and it's plenty sporty. The paddle shifters are fairly responsive for what they are, especially in 2019. And yeah, I mean, I just think rear wheel drive, you'll get better steering inputs. And if you don't live in a snowy climate like I do, you could daily drive it, no problem. So as you all know, modern cars have just gotten heavier and heavier, but we do have a curb weight of still under 4,000 pounds at 3,800. Even with the all-wheel drive system, still a fairly light car. All right, so we have it in sport mode. Let's see what this thing can do. Woo! Fairly quick shifts, even though it doesn't want to upshift now. There we go. Great power out of this car, and with all-wheel drive, you'll get plenty of, you know, straight ahead speed and pickup. So one other thing I wanted to note about these seats is that they're fairly well bolstered. If you're a larger guy, maybe, you know, 200 pounds plus, they might bother you on long road trips, but if you're under that weight, they're probably going to be perfect. They do have a nice shape and plenty of electronic settings to get, you know, comfortable, and I have a nice driver's position here, so really no complaints about that either. And of course, this one is equipped with heated seats, which you might not need if you are out in California or somewhere warmer, but up here in New Hampshire, they are duly appreciated. All right, so let's take a minute to talk about this steering wheel. BMW, in my mind, has made some very ugly steering wheels in this mid-2010s area. You know, I think their M cars do it right with the Alcantara and the red striping and, you know, the D-shaped wheel. I do think those look good, but this one in this 2019 440 just ain't it. I think the worst feature of it is just like this pebbled leather look here where you press your horn. I think overall that's just not a good looking design. We do have high quality paddle shifters here, and the buttons are fairly well set up. We have our cruise control on the left. We have our, you know, our skip track and our volume controls here, as well as to, you know, control mode button. This 440 also features the heads-up display. It may or may not come through on the GoPro. I'm uncertain about that, so if you don't see it, you just have to take my word for it. As far as sound deadening, it is fairly quiet in here. I've found myself to have a lovely conversation with myself through the GoPro, and, you know, don't have to talk very loud even at highway speeds. The ride quality over these smooth roads are pretty good, but, you know, we'll test it when we get out onto the worst road in Merrimack, New Hampshire very soon. I really do love how this 6-cylinder sounds. I think BMW just do it right. You know, they make some very good inline sixes with very nice exhaust notes. My one complaint about the paddle shifters is they are wheel mounted instead of column mounted, so when you go to have like a, you know, hand over hand type of turn, you can't also shift from here. You'd have to quickly get down here and shift from your lever, which, you know, is not very optimal to use. BMW makes some pretty weird shifters. So iDrive 7 introduced Apple CarPlay to the BMW lineup, and this one of course has it, being a 2019. 2017 was the first model year in which BMWs did receive that Apple CarPlay. So basically, if you have a 2017 or a newer, you're gonna have CarPlay in your car, which is great. You know, I really do appreciate the user interface of CarPlay, and it kind of keeps you away from using BMW's iDrive system, which, you know, some people complain about, but honestly, I don't mind it. Fuel economy numbers are just kind of whatever. I mean, honestly, if I were to buy one of these, I would not give a crap about fuel economy whatsoever. I would just be hounding on the B58 engine and really just trying to have some fun. We also do have a sunroof in here, which I did appreciate. Even at higher speeds, it doesn't buffet. It has a nice little windscreen on the top of it, and you get plenty of air into the cabin. As far as drive modes, let's talk about that real quick. So we have Comfort, we have Eco Pro, which you can kind of configure that, and we also have Sport, which as far as configurability just includes the powertrain and the suspension setup. You can basically make either, you know, like Comfort or Sport individually, or have them both on Sport together. We don't have like a sport steering setup in this car, which is interesting because I honestly do feel like it needs to be a little more stiff. The car still feels fairly agile, but you don't get a lot of road feel into this wheel. Like, I don't really understand exactly where my tires are pointed at any given moment, which can be kind of concerning if you're doing some sporty driving. We still do have a very low center of gravity, and this car feels planted, and the all-wheel drive is going to be very confidence inspiring for you. So if you're a newer driver learning how to drive, you know, quickly around Cannon roads, this is definitely going to be the model for you rather than the rear-wheel drive car. All right, so for our trademarked Auto Joe Worst Road in Merrimack, New Hampshire test, we will put the car in comfort. We're going to approach the bumps at 20 miles an hour as we always do, and let's see how it compares. All right, there's 20. So fairly stiff even in comfort, but the bumps aren't jarring. You definitely absorb most of it, especially with the 18-inch wheels, which I do appreciate. I think if you had any larger, this car would be a little too stiff for a daily driver. All right, while we're stopped, let's pop this thing into reverse. We have a fairly decent and high resolution backup camera, parking sensors, of course. And what I like about this one is the rear mirror points down at your wheels, so if you're backing into a tight spot and you have a raised curb, you're going to have less of a chance of curbing your wheels, which I definitely appreciate. Back into drive, let's get out on the road. Gosh, I just love the way this thing sounds. I think if you're in the market for a sports sedan or a coupe, the BMW 440 and the BMW 340 of the F-Series generations are just phenomenal cars, and I drove the 2016 340, so definitely check out that video as well. So to wrap up my thoughts on this 2019 BMW 440, even this one with 95,000 miles on it is just in great shape. You know, this car's held up really well, drives awesome, and the ZF transmission has proved the test of time in this one. Definitely check out this car at First International Auto Group. I think it's great. They don't have that 340 anymore, but I can correct myself in this edit once I get to that point, if that is not true. But with that being said, I've loved this 440. It's a great package. I do think it would be better with their rear-wheel drive. So if you live in a climate that's warmer and doesn't get snow, definitely opt for that. But the 8-speed automatic ZF transmission is great paired to the B58. This is a combination that they have continued to do with the new M340i, which I have also reviewed. Driven a lot of BMWs lately, so I can appreciate that. With that being said, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you all next time on Auto Joe. Bye-bye now.